Welcome back to Trifecta Airsoft Podcast. I'm your host, E-Rock. This episode is sponsored by Skirmish, Airsoft Connected. It's also sponsored by Hefe's Airsoft Solutions, a company that puts the airsoft community first. Thank you everyone for being here. Let's get into the podcast.
Awesome.
Welcome, bro.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Dude, it's
Long
been a
time no
while.
see. Yeah, I know, right?
So anyone watching and listening, Jax and I met. So your name is Jax, and him and I met at the Operation Stonebreaker, I think it was. Was it
No, I think
Stonebreaker?
it was Serious Viking.
No, I didn't go to that one. It was at
Wasn't it the
GTI.
48 hour? Yeah, yep. It could
Uh,
have been Stonebreaker.
Iron Dagger 2.
Yes,
Did we meet in October?
yes.
Yeah,
It
it
was at
was.
the 24-hour straight event.
That's right. It had to be that one because when I was talking to you about your car, your technical that you had there, it was you guys had only had it like a month or something, like just a
We
couple.
literally built that car in 12 days. It was over a month because I only could afford to build it when I wasn't going to work. So
Yeah,
I every week I had 3 days off, and it took us 4 weeks to build it. So 12 straight days. We hustled pretty hard for that.
that's crazy, bro. So to give a little background for everybody, now most people that are going to watch this or see or hear this have already heard about you and that car. I've talked about it on probably at least 5 or 6 podcasts in the
Nice.
past and brought up those pictures. So I've already shown this car off like numerous times, especially right after that event when I've had people on here. And I was like, and I even mentioned in there too that I was like, man, I want to do a podcast with this guy. We talked and stuff. And then I didn't get your info. I just gave you my card.
Right.
And so I didn't know how to find you. And then
Yeah,
you just
man.
reached
And
out to me like a few days ago.
so that was literally by chance.
Yeah.
As soon as I got back, I reached out on your YouTube channel, and I never got a reply. And I was like, oh man, I think I did try and email the website, but I just, life happens and you get sidetracked and then you kind of forget. And I was up on Instagram. I literally just got back from a week survival trip on an island, and I happened to see something from the Operation Line Claw here in my neck of the woods. And I was checking out some of the feed on there, and I saw you on there, and I was like, "Oh man, this is the guy. Let me hit him up." Because I mean, I was trying my best to get a hold of you so that we could give you the rundown on the car. The story behind the car is epic. We're all a bunch of very close knit people. Our team is a team that we practice with both on and off the field. And unfortunately, Stonebreaker, I want to say it was Stonebreaker, but it could have been,
The Iron
could have
Dagger,
been,
I think, in
it
October.
could well, I'm saying from right after COVID started,
Oh, yeah.
and the first Third Coast Airsoft event that they had coming back online after the lockdowns, we showed up with our full team, and we were all doing the tier ones, and we started running, and I was rear security, and one of our guys, an older gentleman, was just like, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I just can't breathe. And I was like, well man, it's just a game, we're not trying to kill anybody out here, it's just a game. And so we kind of light-footed it out of there. Well, he never recovered from that, and he ended up spending the whole weekend in the camper. He didn't play another single minute of that event, and he would not leave. And we're like, man, what if it's COVID? What if it's a heart attack? I mean, it could have been 100 different things. And he just refused to leave, man. He did not want to let the team leave. Um, and he ended up coming back and going to Duke Hospital, probably one of the best in the country. And after that, he spent 192 days fighting for his life. In fact, he never fully recovered. He I want to say a better part of 85 days, he only had a 5% chance of living. And so basically, you speed up time a little bit till about, I would say, 2 months before we even thought about building the charger. That same gentleman, his name is Monk, uh, basically expressed to us that he didn't feel like he was a part of the team anymore because he's on an oxygen machine for the rest of his life. And I said, "Man, you got too much up here, too much valuable stuff up here for me to just let you go." I said, how would you feel about piloting a vehicle?" And he was like, I don't want you to do that for me, because that, obviously that takes a lot of money to buy a car and then hook it up the way we did. Um, but I was like, "No, man, you're part of our team, and if you're willing to captain it, I'm willing to fund it." And then it became I don't even know how you'd say it. It didn't fit the guidelines of Third Coast Airsoft technicals. And so I hit up Sal, and asked him. I was like, "Listen, I, basically it doesn't specify. It just says military type vehicle. What if I could get a military MP vehicle, like a something that wasn't high off the ground, because my buddy's got to be able to climb up into this thing and he's disabled." And so it changed the whole perspective for us, is that we needed something a little lower to the ground, and also something with air conditioning in it because of his medical condition. If he gets too hot or, exhausted, it could be a potential threat, I guess. And told him the story about how it literally happened at one of his events, placing no blame on Third Coast Airsoft. It wasn't none of their fault. Um, and he said, "Show me the car." And that, from that point on, it was me basically traveling to multiple places around North Carolina looking for an actual retired police vehicle. And I wanted a certain budget, because obviously these cars aren't running like racetrack speeds or anything. So it just needed to be, just needed to, run that 10 to 15 miles an hour, and have some air conditioning. And if I could get some of the cool gadgets, that would save me a bunch of money trying to put all the lights and stuff back into it. And I ended up finding one and sent it to Sal, and he said, "Do it." And the rest, I guess, is you guys got to see its first initial performance out there.
Right. Yeah, dude. That was it was very cool. Out of all the technicals as we were walking around that event, uh, because actually when I met you, you weren't at the car at the time. It was your buddies were out there. And one of the guys, I don't remember his name, he was sitting up in the turret trying, like, testing it out, or doing some things, whatever. When we walked up, me and my buddy Todd, we walked over there, and I started filming, and Todd was talking to your buddy, and then somebody else on your team showed up, but you weren't out there yet. So I filmed this little, like, 2 minute clip or whatever, uh, around the card inside, and all the different stuff that he was showing us. And it was in my opinion, for that whole weekend or that event, it was the most badass looking technical there. It really was. The Between the paint job, between the all the gadgets you had in there, the thing
Yeah,
looked. And I've never seen a technical like a regular style card. Normally it's like a Jeep, like an old CJ7, or whatever, these kind of things, and then or a pickup truck, or
right.
uh
Taliban style
Hummer.
vehicle.
Yeah, exactly. And we saw that charger. I was like, bro, what the fuck? What is this thing? Fight Club is painted on it. I'm like, who doesn't like Fight Club now? Come on.
Right. Well,
It
it
was
was
awesome.
pretty fitting. We picked that name probably, man. We've been to 13. Man, it's got to be more than 13 now, because we hit the Guardian Center last year. We've been to a bunch of events. I want to say we started in either 2016 or 2017, and we were hooked. And we always promised ourselves, we have a lot of military guys, as you got to meet some of them, and so some of this is healing for them too, kind of like what Freddie does with the Veterans for Airsoft. We want to engage in actual tactics. We're not there to play Ghost Recon, and you know some of the things with the car, and I don't know to what extent your audience has seen inside that thing, but I wanted it to be so overwhelming for my buddy that he didn't feel like he was just driving a limousine around escorting
Right.
guys on and off the field. We put an interactive iPad in there with a touch screen map of where we were playing, and rear view mirror camera, because obviously we read on the back window, so it's not like he had any kind of rear view mirror. So we hooked that up, and of course we got the PA system where we were, playing hype music going in, and Britney Spears and ice cream truck music every time we got hit that night. And
That's
we
funny.
wanted it to be psychological too. We had a bunch of Halloween candy and some little mini sodas, and we were just, hey, it's going to be a psychological game when you play for that many hours without stopping.
Right.
And, and
And
I think I
also the other thing psychological too was I remember how many LED lights and strips you had on there. And
yeah.
I remember when I met you and you were talking about it, you said, "Yeah, these guys with the NVGs, we want to fuck with them."
Oh yeah. Yeah, so we put 100,000 lumens on the front of that thing so that it would, because one of the hardest things is you spend about 15 minutes in a night game letting your eyes adjust. So even without MVGs, having a car come by with that kind of light power on the front, it puts all kinds of blue dots in your eye. And, you know, we quickly figured out that as long as we kept up the speed, the recommended speed limit, that nobody could hit us, and we would just do drive-bys pretty much on guys sitting in the woods keeping people from leaving. And at one point they literally threw a guy in front of our car
Oh
just to get
shit.
us, yeah, just to get us to stop. I mean, I wish I was more tech savvy like some of you guys, and rig that thing up with some GoPros, because even at Stonebreaker, we just took the car to Stonebreaker too. And Sal was like, "Man, I sat up on that water tower for a half an hour watching you do donuts in the Connex boxes on the backside there of the just behind the mound." And he said, "Man, they kept launching and kept launching, but the profile of the car was so small that they couldn't hit it."
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's
So
cool.
it's definitely been fun, and I tell you what, it is just as much of a rush to drive that car tactically as it is to tactically move,
Yeah.
because your mind is geared on fighting, and you want to watch where everybody's fighting, but you're the captain of the ship. You start watching everybody else firing on the ground and stuff, and you end up getting off track. So Stonebreaker was a little rough for us because Monk, unfortunately, is his health has deteriorated even worse. So he is
Uh,
still around. He's still kicking it, but I don't think he's gonna be able to attend.
yeah, I met him
Anymore.
as well. When you guys told me that story out there, man, it was pretty crazy. Once I talked with you, because I actually, I think so I met, you guys on your team. Then I met you, and then you had your daughter there as well. And
Yeah.
so you had like this whole because you guys were staying in the same trailer that I was staying in
Yep.
right there. A lot of you guys, and I saw some of you guys in like the little lounge area with the coffee maker and stuff. And I talked to the one dude that was like really tall on your team.
Steven.
Yeah, and real kind of quiet. But I talked with him, and he was. I was asking him about you had how many radios or whatever. You had a bunch of. Didn't he do a lot of the comm stuff in there or the
Yeah.
tech stuff? Okay.
Yeah. So we're rocking digital on everything, just because it's a shorter wavelength. And with the bow things, somebody could easily be carrying a bearcat, I think is what it's called, and scan the channels, even though it's against the regs. We all know, we always see people doing some stuff that they shouldn't be doing out on some of these third coast games. Um, it's just a more high powered, more private frequency. And in fact, you can make it completely private. And it's worked in those buildings. That's a nuclear reactor building. Walls are really thick.
Right.
And so we needed something that would not only be reliable, but be reliable around the whole facility. And so, yeah, he's definitely our comms guy, man. And I'll tell you, he's done some crazy stuff with a radio in a backpack. He knows his stuff. I can't
Yeah.
even begin to explain it. You'll have to do a whole podcast just on that alone, because that some of that stuff just blows my mind. When you talk about ham radio, you're bouncing signals off the ionosphere, and you know he has to program our radios from a laptop, and because of operational security, uh, each one of those walkie talkies can brick another one of the walkie talkies. So if we were in a real combat scenario and one of our guys got taken out and they had a radio on them, the two lead guys, which are myself and Hightower, the big tall guy, um, we can brick those. We can brick those walkie talkies remotely,
Gotcha.
but they're pricey. They're called Anytone radios. Another really good version, but a step down, is a TYT. They're all digital. What is it? DMR radios.
Gotcha. Yeah, that stuff when the one of the guys was telling me all the different comm stuff they had in there and the technical shit in there, I was like, bro. When I saw and then the touchscreen iPad you had in there with the map and stuff on it, yeah, I was
Yeah,
blown away, man. It wasn't just so it was a high-tech comm vehicle with a turret and not just the turret on top, but you had the gun on the front passenger seat as well. So that
yep,
front passenger seat was out. You had that a gun on a post on a turret on that.
yep.
That was crazy, man.
So because that was our preliminary run, we had bought two brand new LMG AEGs to run on there. They were identical, and we got extended batteries and all this. And 5 minutes into the game, that one of the guns broke. I
Oh,
mean, it hadn't even been used for 5 minutes, and
yeah.
so Sam is a good friend of mine from Airsoft Junkies, and I was just like, help me, brother. What do you got for me? And I think that's when you were talking about how you walked up to the car and the guys were testing it. I think we were trying to hook up a HPA machine gun that they had just sold us,
Okay.
and we wanted fire for effect, the whole 9 yards. We wanted the tip to flash. We wanted the gun to be accurate, and we used it again on this one. But the difference now is that vehicle is now all HPA with expert LMG builds on it.
Damn.
Um, and we're actually, don't want to spill the beans too much, but we are going to do a couple more things to that vehicle that's going to blow everybody's mind.
Okay. So what is your well, I guess have you taken it to other events since I saw you? And then what's the next big event you're going to be taking it to?
Well, I believe it's going to be Iron Dagger. I wanted so badly to take it down to the Guardian Center,
Okay.
just because I don't know if you've ever been down there. That
No,
is
I
a
haven't been there.
remarkable place, man. I encourage anybody that can get down there. That is a $55 million state of the art facility. And when you take pictures just during gameplay, they look fake because everything is built. Like, you could tell they built a sandbox model of it and then duplicated it identically. They have a Hurricane Katrina town that's built into a pond that they can flood up to the roof. They have a replica of the Oklahoma City bombing. They have a replica of a subway train crashed inside of a tunnel. I mean, this
What?
place is, oh, yeah, bridge collapses. I mean, this facility is for all things. In fact, we ended up getting kicked out of the subway when we were down there last time because the SEALs came and they were throwing real tear gas. And they didn't want us to get affected by it, so they shut off the subway for a couple hours when we were down there last year. But unfortunately, I have a medical procedure that I have to undergo 1 day before the event, and I talked to our medics, and I said, "Well, what do you think about me just driving the car?" And they said, "Just you getting in and out of the car could blow stitches, could start
Oh,
a bleed, and it." What's the point of having medical guys if you don't trust their advice?
oh yeah, man. Well, yeah. And then if you have to have something done, there's, what's the point if you're gonna
You
just
got screwed up.
injure the
Yeah.
wound? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no shit,
So
dude. Yeah,
it's
that's
unfortunate, man. It definitely. I mean, like I said, we'll be at. I'll be at Iron Dagger
okay.
because they're promising another 24-hour event, and that was the best night. In fact, there was a point where Monk fell out, and then I had also brought my brother, who isn't usually part of our team, but has recently got invested in it. But they weren't used to running those kinds of scenarios. And so we had a block schedule where everybody was going to get a good amount of rest, and you were basically scheduled to be on the car
Gotcha.
because even if our whole team couldn't be out there, we could keep the car out there the full
Gotcha.
time, and that was the
Uh-huh.
goal. But when you're not eating right, when you're not going back and sleeping when you're supposed to be sleeping, you tend to start dragging butt. I ended up being on that back gun from about 3 o'clock in the morning till 11 o'clock till the game ended.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I had brought a bunch of MREs because I know when you're really running and gunning the way you should be, you're burning calories like crazy. You're getting dehydrated like crazy. And them
Yep.
MRE, the coffee packets, man, you just, pour one of them instant coffee packages in your mouth and chug some water, and you're good to go for another 45 minutes
I
easily.
mean, fuck, man. If you're gonna do that, why don't you just snort that shit, okay?
I know, right? I hear all kinds of things about guys with tricks. I need to get in touch with some of them people because we were just having a blast, man.
Yeah.
Even at the next couple of events, because we went out to the prison there in Milledgeville, and we'd just be walking by, and he'd be like, "Oh, it's that guy. That's the guy with the charger," and you could tell it still made a huge impact, and we're just glad everybody had fun with it. You go up on YouTube and you see it in everybody's video, and you're just like, "Oh shit, it's the charger," and
Yep.
it's just like, yes, that's what I built it for. I wanted people to
Right.
feel when it came around the corner. I wanted people to fear it.
I think you're gonna open the door. You already have opened the door to people having ideas about, changing their ideas on what kind of technicals to bring, right? Or build
Yeah,
up. And not just build up, but or what kind, but also like because that paint job you did on there um really made it stand out. And that was wasn't that the rhino liner type of stuff?
it was.
Yeah.
Yep. It was a custom roll-on that I can't offhand remember the brand, but I'm sure I can shoot you a link if you want to put it on here
Yeah, I
because
can
I'm
tag it in here. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm an artist by heart, so it was like, how do we make this thing be a cross between a sheriff patrol car and a military vehicle? And so we did the OD green because, of course, we've been and probably will be Eastern for a long time coming. And so we painted it green, and I went through a bunch of pictures of sheriff's departments' cars where they have that big, you know, sheriff with the block across the side. They're all pretty close to one another, and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what we want. And I, of course, had a projector screen and did the Fight Club logo and put a piece of cardboard up there, and I just cut out the logo so that it would be basically like a stencil, giant stencil,
Huh.
and bought a can of the rubberized black rhino liner and just
No
yep,
shit.
yep,
Just rattle canned it.
yep. And I mean, we rolled on
The
the
green
the
part,
whole.
yeah.
Yeah, so like people think you have to sand down the whole car. You just take a scouring pad and scour it, and they actually make a prepping spray. Um, that you basically cover the area that you scour with the green pad that you wash the dishes with, and spray that stuff on there, and then it's just, there's a hardener in the roll on. So when
Okay.
you commit, you need to commit to doing the whole thing and have the whole thing prep, taped. And we did all the green in one day, and I think, yeah, we did all the green in one day. But there's flaws to the vehicle as well. The back hatch, we I don't know if you were at Stonebreaker, but as soon as the game started, it was torrential downpour. There were so many problems with HPAs and AEGs going bad right there in that first couple of
Oh yeah.
hours.
Oh, the just a couple months ago, the Stonebreaker
Yeah,
that just happened. Yeah.
yep.
No, I had listen, bro. I had a ticket to go to that. I had already bought I planned on going. I was going to be there. I couldn't make it. I couldn't. I had some
Oh
family
man.
stuff come up, and I couldn't make it. So
Well, we're definitely have to get you in the car next time so that you got something more fun to show people.
yeah, for sure, man. So
Yeah.
what so you said you're an artist. Obviously, I see your tattoos, and I've seen your Instagram. You have and we talked about this when I met you. You're a tattoo artist, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So go. How did you start out into that, or how did you get into that, and then how did you get into airsoft?
Well, I was born a military brat until the day I got married. In fact, we went to my dad's retirement ceremony the same day in the morning, and I got married in the afternoon. So I grew up in the military. My dad was a single father of three boys, so we did lots of hunting and training with guns and all kinds of stuff like that. And of course, being around military people, those were the people, growing up that had tattoos, unless you were in a biker gang or a gang, most military guys would have tattoos. And it just so happened that I went to a house party when I was probably 13 years old, went into party, and there was a guy doing tattoos there. Well, I came from Oklahoma and tattoos were illegal. So there was no professional setting that you could go and learn to do something like that. But just standing there watching the guy do, put his permanent art on people, I didn't end up partying that night. I just sat there and watched him the whole night doing tattoos. And finally, I convinced him to teach me how to do it. And the rest was history, man. Did it for probably 8, 9 years illegally in Oklahoma because, we lived on a training base. It was Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and there were plenty of guys with all kinds of money and would have to go way down to Texas to get tattoos. So it was highly profitable. And eventually, I moved up to New York and did it up there for a couple of years. And then I went back to Oklahoma where they legalized it. And the process was just ridiculous to be a tattoo artist there. But I was going through the process when, I just got ejected, family issues, divorced, the whole 9 yards. And I said, man, all my family had been living here. So I came here and I said, man, I just want one more shot. And obviously, as you can see, I own Apex Tattoo Factory. It's near Raleigh, and it's one of the best tattoo shops in the state. I've been tattooing now for 28 years. So,
Wow.
yep, long
Yeah.
time. Getting old quick. But far as airsoft, man, we fancy doing things like survival trips. I grew up in the Upper Adirondack Mountains of New York. My dad was very much a, you know, born and raised in the woods kind of guy, hunting and fishing and tracking and all kinds of good things. And so the big tall guy, Steven, he was a Marine, however they say it. Once a Marine, always a Marine.
Yeah, yeah.
He was an MP, and he did three gun competitions, and he worked at a couple of the high end training facilities for weapons around here. And one day we just sat down and said, man, it'd be really cool if we cross trained each other and started getting a group of like minded people together to train and just have that reliability if anything were to ever happen in the world. I mean, one doesn't have to look too far on the news these days to see that we weren't too far off the mark when we decided that we wanted to just start training and learning how to survive. Um, and one day, one of our members said, "Hey, have you guys ever tried airsoft?" And I literally, man, I'm not even gonna lie to you, I blew him off, and I was like, "Man, I'm not playing with no dang toy." And he's like, "No, man, it's not the same thing. It's not what you think, you know." And I was just like, "Nah, whatever." And so eventually, something else happened where I saw, a full metal blowback rifle, and I was like, "Well, maybe I'll give him a second chance, and I'll start looking into this." And the more I looked, the more I saw that they have a replica for every rifle that I own, pretty much. And I was like, well, there's definitely bad habits that can be learned in airsoft as opposed to a real weapon. And so we just told ourselves we weren't going to rock anything that we couldn't rock in real life, and that's how it started. And I can't honestly say how I found out about Third Coast Airsoft, but I knew that they were one of the best in the industry. And long story short, we bought a bunch of beginner stuff and went out there, and we purposely chose Eastern because back in 2016, 2017, they always lost. All the sponsored teams were Western forces, and we just wanted it as hard as we could possibly get it. Embrace the suck. And
Be the
the rest is
underdogs.
history, man. We hard test a lot of tactical gear out there. You know. Testing the radios, all those things that would really matter in real life. We were probably some of the first people out there to test thermal on our airsoft rifles and stuff like that. And obviously, if you went to Milledgeville to the prison, you would have saw that I bought a one of the tag-in HPA launchers because I launched more tag-ins in 25 minutes than I think most people would launch in an entire game combined.
Bro,
Um, yeah. So
those things aren't cheap either. What were you shooting? Reaper rounds?
yeah,
The
yeah.
explosive? Yeah, yeah.
Well, it just so happened that when we were at the 24-hour event, walked into Airsoft Junkies, and Sam was like, "Hey, you somebody didn't pick up their 4 or 5 boxes of tag-in rounds. Would you be interested in them?" And I turned to him and I said, "Are those the only ones you have for this event?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "I'll take them all."
Oh my God.
Because I was like, if you didn't buy any or get any from him, we just basically cornered the market for tag-ins for the
I was gonna,
event. So
yeah. You
that
just
was
took
the
it away
idea.
from
I knew I
everybody.
wasn't gonna. I knew I wasn't gonna fire them all, and I knew that my wife was gonna be pissed off that I spent that kind of money on them. But I was like, man, that's a tactical advantage right there. That all we got to do is spend a little money on. And so yeah, we ended up doing that, man. I
Oh
think after
shit.
that event, between that and the HPA that we bought from Airsoft Junkies, we managed to make it up in their number one spot for most money spent from
I'm
Airsoft
sure.
Junkies.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, man, you want these? You're like, yep. You whip out the fat stacks of, just slap it down. Like, yeah, give me all that shit.
Yeah, yeah, and it was 100% tactical. We just wanted to keep other people from being able to buy it.
Right. Oh, it's funny. So look, that's a pro tip, everybody. Okay. You don't just have to have like spend all the money on your own gear, right? You can spend money and take something away from the
Yep.
event that nobody else can get. Yeah.
Well, and little did we know afterwards that tag-ins would be almost impossible to find. Um,
Right.
Something very alarming happened at the last event that I was privy to that information, and that is somebody printed a what I would consider an actually lethal 40 mic round off of a 3D printer. And
No
I can
shit.
only imagine if somebody were to get it, had a full plastic spearhead on it, and it looked like a
What?
whistling round. Oh yeah,
Oh my
it was
God.
full plastic 40 mic tag in round that was 3D printed. It had a very dark red powder that didn't seem to want to come off of even black clothes. And I told Sal when I saw it, I said, "Listen, if I hear a round whistle past me, I'm gonna go beat the shit out of somebody because that's at best a misdemeanor, and at worst it's a felony."
So the tip of it was kind of pointed
Yeah, yeah. I actually
to,
have a picture of it. I'll send that to you as well
yeah, I could put it in
because
here.
there was a lot of foul stuff at the last event that it blows my mind that we come to play a fair game and that people end up getting hurt really bad. I think a guy took a bag of Skittles and poured it in a tag in launcher and almost point blank range shot a guy in the chest,
Mm.
bruised his whole chest. There was somebody from our side that put deer corn in it and shot it. And I'm like,
Ooh, damn.
guys, if you wanna be, you know, a dick about something, why don't you just pour some BBs in there? You know what I mean? It would be no different than the mass BB
Right.
rounds that shoot out of those things anyway. But you're gonna put something hard in there. That's just I don't know, man.
And that's and those are CO2, the tag-in launchers. So they're using it
Oh
like
no, they
a
have HPA as well.
they have HPA as well.
Yep. Yeah, because
Shit.
I have both, and the HPA has a tank in front of the butt stock, and it fills up just like all the rest of the HPA's.
Wow. That is
You get
crazy.
probably somewhere, I want to say somewhere in the range of about 53 shots out of one of those before it needs to be refilled.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the CO2 ones where you put the CO2 in the sight and then cock
Yeah.
it, that you get I want to say you only get about 8 shots off of those.
Yeah, and that's gonna be yeah, see those type of things are those are like problems that most people would not even think of. Like, oh, like what, at a mill sim, like, okay, you chrono, right, for safety and stuff, right? They check, make sure you got full seal goggles on and shit. And then you chrono, and then what else is there, right? So now these things coming up like that. Um,
Yeah, I mean,
that's a
what
real,
people got to understand is that your glasses are spec'd for a certain FPS for a certain pressure amount,
yeah,
and to catch one of those things in the face,
bro.
I both me and Sal, and you know who Sal is,
Yep.
um, both agreed that that was a potentially lethal round, and it was
Right.
found on the field,
Yeah,
so
that's fucked
it
up.
had been fired.
This episode is sponsored by Skirmish, the future of airsoft gameplay management. Are you ready to take airsoft to the next level? Skirmish's innovative gameplay solution keeps players and spectators engaged with real-time updates. Capture objectives, detonate targets, medic, and more at skirmish-enabled fields. Skirmish tracks every action so you don't have to. Review past games, action by action, and follow your progress in national rankings. Phones are not required. If you want to find out more, head to skirmish.net and check out episode 157 of this podcast where I talk with the owner of Skirmish about how it started and how it works. Stay connected, my friends. This episode is also sponsored by JefesAirsoftSolutions.com. Are you looking for a company that puts the community first? Look no further than Jefes Airsoft Solutions. Their founding principle is to offer a way for players of all types to get the greatest experience possible. Their passion is to make a difference in the airsoft community and serve each of their customers with the utmost respect. Be part of the conversation by joining hundreds of fellow airsofters in their Discord server. Here you can find out about upcoming events, sales, giveaways, and more. Don't wait any longer. Join today and start enjoying all that Jefes Airsoft Solutions has to offer. Together, we can make a difference in the community. Use the code Trifecta10 and save 10% on your next purchase at JefesAirsoftSolutions.com. Some exclusions apply. Well, you got a pretty cool background. I mean, you moved around a lot. You got some pretty cool upbringing. You said your dad was a single dad. Um, Did you know your mom at all? Or
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, no, I know. Yeah, my mom's my hero too, man. She's lives down in Florida, living the good life now, but it wasn't always that way. Native American on her side of the family, so she had a pretty rough upbringing as well. And I'm pretty sure I get a huge amount of my drive to do things like build a massive car in 12 days from her. I don't
Yeah.
know if that's drive or stubborn, but my
Hey.
dad says stubborn, my mom says drive. So
People that don't understand how ambition and drive works, they think it's stubbornness. But yeah, it can be a positive thing majority of the time. Like that's, what
we
gets you
had a
through.
guy. We had a guy that we were trying to get because we often bring new guys with us to try and get them involved in it too. Because the tactical world, the people that shoot real pew pews, they see it as a game and they don't see any value in it.
Yeah.
And so we often, try and convince one or two guys to come with us and just give it a try. I got over the years, I've amassed, extras that I'll be like, oh, well, you don't even have to buy your own. Use mine and check it out. And we had a guy, his name was Jim. I think you got to meet him too. I think he might have been one of the guys that kind of previewed you through the vehicle.
Hmm.
It was his first time going with us out to that event, and when we were asking for anybody to help volunteer on those days to put work in on the car, he showed up here on that first day and he was like, what made you think that you could do something like this in such a short period of time? Literally by the end of an 8 hours working on that car, he was like, I'll shut my mouth.
Yeah, because you think of when you're looking at this thing that's like, bare bones or whatever, like there's so much you haven't really started on it, yet. And you look at what you want it to become and how much work is involved. A lot of people would think, well, that you're not going to be able to do that, bro. Like,
Yeah,
uh, they don't understand teamwork. They don't understand like focus.
yeah.
Because if you
And
get really
Hightower,
focused and organized,
well, and it really helped with Hightower, Steven there, the big tall guy. Uh, he was an MP. He went and was deployed in Iraq, and he is very familiar with vehicle movements and just the flaws in Humvees.
mm,
And so a lot a lot of what happened with that car was not me. I did all the wiring and all the technical stuff. He did all the radio stuff, and how he wanted it laid out was that if we needed to get from that front gunner passenger side gunner there to the back to the trunk, okay, and hand something to the upper gunner, we wanted it all to flow through and have the most room available. And then, the rain aspect of it, the water coming into the vehicle aspect of it also had to be accounted for.
mm.
You didn't want, the padded seats getting, soaked in water, because then that would be mildew. And so it was a forever evolving, thing. And the turret in the back window was 100% Steven. I was like, listen, you know I know wiring, I know lights, I can wire just about anything. I've wired that entire car without turning a single thing on until I was ready to test it all together.
Oh shit.
that, yeah, I actually have a pretty extensive background in wiring. Not like circuit board wiring, but just wiring and switches.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wired that whole thing in, and like we wanted it to have a mental, a psychological look to it. So that we ended up having to pull the whole front bumper off and do the halo lights so that you would just see the small ring, coming down the road. And then there was other aspects that we didn't even think about, which was in the pitch black. How do you know whose side a car is on? And it was like, oh man, we should have some kind of light glowing green marker. Some guys used like green chem sticks, but it was like, we put all this work into this thing and we're gonna hang glow sticks off the bumper. And So that's where I got those green stick on solar LED. Those aren't even wired. Those are powered by the sun.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
So yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah.
lot of thought process. But if anybody who's hung out with us, either me or Steven, knows that we don't just do things. We try and do things that other people haven't done yet.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Uh,
anything worth doing is worth overdoing.
well, and I hate to mention this to everybody, but Steven owns his own. Def, I don't know. He makes tactical stuff for real life combat, and
Oh,
he owns. Yeah, he owns Gunslinger Tactical. So, I mean, the guy develops technology to be used in war zones for soldiers.
oh, that's wild. Okay.
Yeah, if you ever get to see him, go up and look at his vest. He made that from scratch.
He might have told me at that event when we talked a little bit. He might have told me something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
wild.
who do you know? Who do you know that could make their own tactical vest?
No shit, right?
Right?
I can make my own bulletproof vest. I tape a bunch of uh, you know, encyclopedias to my chest, okay?
Right? Yeah, I'm telling you.
Oh yeah.
So,
So you mentioned you have your own tattoo shop. Uh that you guys are in North Carolina, right?
yep. Yeah,
And
just below Raleigh.
you said by the Raleigh area?
Yeah, yep. It's pretty much. I mean, it's the triangle, Raleigh, Durham, something
Oh,
else. The triangle is what they call
uh-huh.
it here. So, I mean, we're stone's throw from Raleigh. Probably a little further away from Durham than Raleigh. I could probably be in Durham in about 20 minutes. I'd be in Raleigh in 10.
You're not far. I'm not far from you. I'm in Simpsonville, South Carolina. So to Raleigh, I think it's about 3.5 hours or so.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. But we've
I
lived
don't
here.
actually live in the city. I live out in the country,
Yeah.
probably about 20, 30 miles south of Raleigh. I just need the city to make money. I don't
Yeah,
really like
exactly.
I
No,
don't
you
really
don't want to
like
live in
people
this
that.
city, bro, especially Raleigh. It's liberal as fuck.
Yeah, hell yeah. I wasn't gonna go there, but since you did,
Oh no, it
yes,
is. I mean,
100%.
it's funny when you have when you talk about stuff like that, like these southern states. Everyone thinks, oh, the whole state is like conservative, guns and all that kind of shit. Not really. Like even in South Carolina, uh, your big cities like Greenville, like Charleston, you have a big, there's a big difference, right? With the majority of
I like to call them college towns.
yeah, the college towns. That's what it is.
100%, every one of them.
Well, this one guy I was talking to, this is a while ago. He made a comment about um, he started he had a choice to go to something. He was going to go to college, but instead he did something else. He might have went to the military. I don't know. But I said, "What? You didn't want to go to the anti-American propaganda, station or whatever, like college?" He's like, "No,
It's terrible up here. I mean, it's worked its way into our regular high schools here, and
sure,
I have three daughters of my own, and just seeing the way that some of the stuff was happening around that area, I had to do it for them. Get them to more of the living that I grew up with.
yeah,
Yeah, we were in the military, but we spent a shit ton of time outdoors. Uh, Boy Scouts, the whole 9 yards, and so I wanted them to have that access to being independent, because when you do things like survival trip,
yeah,
you know, a lot of the times the premise on that is most like-minded people that would even attend something like that probably have a bug out bag or have thought about having a bug out bag. And so the whole premise is I'm going to take you out there and show you how much of that bullshit you put in that backpack isn't really going to work for you.
Nope.
And then I'm going to show you the stuff that does work so that you're properly prepared. And
Hmm.
it adds a level of critical thinking that I think is really gone. Common sense is no longer common anymore. And when
Yeah.
you put people into extreme situations and say, okay, think about it for a sec. I'm not going to give you all the answers. I want you to do it up here,
Yep.
figure it out, and do something with it. And I see a lot of that in the Third Coast Airsoft. We're going to try. We've been invited to the Lion Claw events. Formally have been invited, so we're going to try that out and give them a shot as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of this stuff is okay. You know, we have like one of the recent things that we have gotten, I think, for the last two events is I purchased a DJI FPV racing drone that I could deploy very quickly. I mean, we were down
Those
in the
things are
middle of,
fast as hell, bro.
yeah, they go 82 miles an hour.
No shit.
Oh yeah, and they could do flips and all kind. I mean, it is
Right.
a full-on racing drone,
And those
and you're
things,
wearing.
dude, I don't can't, I've seen these videos on these things and they are so responsive. Like it
Oh yeah,
is, they're at a dead stop, they're just hovering, then they're gone, and then they'll
oh yeah.
stop again. It's fucking
I'm
crazy.
over here looking. I was actually because they made a new joystick so that you don't have a controller, but this is a first-person view. Uh, so you feel like you're in the cockpit of the drone
Oh,
because
that's
you're wearing
wild.
these 3D goggles. And here I can, instead of having a small screen and a joystick,
Yep.
I'm looking like I'm flying the plane, and I can give real-time feedback and and say, okay, this is what's going on. And then that's where the critical thinking comes in. And you say, okay, it looks like they're making a huge push on Becky. So we can adjust our attack formation. When we were at Stonebreaker, they had this huge plan that they were going to rock the convoy all the way around to where the airport strip is there in the firing mound. I can't remember what the objective was called, but they were going to come around the entire backside of GTI
Hmm.
and roll right down into the middle of everything. But with that car, the rain keeps us from being off road. And
Oh,
so as soon as it started raining, it became okay, what do we do now? Well, send me down the middle. I'll go right down the middle and we'll just do donuts until y'all show up on the other side. And that's exactly what we did. And so, in a moment's notice, we were able to change the tactic and give them a slight tactical advantage because all those people were busy trying to shoot us, that
yeah.
the rest of the vehicles came around the back and came in.
Oh, wow. That's wild. Yeah,
It
that's
is,
pretty
man.
cool.
We're always trying to keep people on their toes. I
Yeah,
wish
that's
I could
cool.
figure out. I wish I could figure out how to get this racing drone to drop a grenade.
Speaking of that, man, I talked to the one of the owners of Grimnir Tactical, and they're up in your old neck of the woods, I guess, by somewhere up by New York. I don't know if they're in. I can't remember if they're in Pennsylvania or New York or Maryland or what, the Northeast. Okay, where it gets cold. Um, they're up there, and he was talking about the events they put on. They have a drone that they put a tag-in launcher on, so that when somebody calls an airstrike in, when whatever team calls an airstrike, that's what is used instead of one of the admins just walking over by this group and going, dropping something and saying, "Hey, you're all dead."
Yeah,
They actually fire this thing from the sky, which I guess it's one of those bigger, like beefier
it's got to
drones.
be. Yeah, it's got to be.
It's crazy, bro.
I mean, you watch some of this footage from like the Ukraine and stuff where they're going over the top of trenches and using, those are even big drones for that.
Yeah.
But they're carrying multiple rounds of just droppable, what look like mortar rounds, and dropping them directly on these guys. And it's
Uh-huh.
like, I wonder if we could do something like that.
Yeah.
Sam actually just got. I want to say it's a DGI, but It's like an $8,000 thermal drone. And he was giving us real time feedback because I don't know if you remember them starting the Cerberus, I think it's called, where you could get
Huh?
real time intel from the sky and
Oh
troop
no.
movements and stuff like that. They were just beta testing it, so only a select few got to be on it, but they are getting better and better and better. And so our tier one event not only had a chemical like aspect to it where we had to put on gas masks, and they duplicated the smell of chlorine gas
Oh shit.
and filled the building with smoke. And it was just like, oh man, I've been wanting to test my gas mask for some time. And it was awesome, man. I just, that's one of the things I love about Third Coast is that they're always growing and they're
Mm-hmm.
always trying to do the next best thing to stay on top of the leaderboard. And, you know, I think they also just started Third Coast Tactical, which is the same thing, only with real pew pews. So, you know,
Oh.
they are
Oh
the
shit.
top of their
Okay.
field in my book.
Yeah, man. They put on some great events. I mean, my boys, when they started Airsoft and they started going and they figured out, okay, we really like mil sims as opposed to, like open plays or indoor something for Airsoft. Um, and they had gone to a few, a handful of different events from different hosts, or event coordinators, whatever. They always gravitated towards the Third Coast,
Yeah.
and they really enjoyed those. And when I went for the couple of them, one of them, obviously, I met you there, but it's impressive. The amount of stuff they put into it. They had the Humvees with the blank firing 50 cals, the mortar tubes, that shoot that
Yeah.
sound like mortars going off. Like the full they really make it really immersive, you
Well,
know.
I mean, how many airsoft events have you gone to that you got to fly in a special forces helicopter and shoot people?
And then the
I,
helicopter, exactly.
yeah.
Not just the helicopter like during the day, but the nighttime.
Yeah.
So
The tier
the
ones,
pilot is flying with NVGs or whatever.
yep.
Uh,
So I don't want to quote this wrong. Is it it's the 120th SOAR. So they are Navy SEAL pilots, and he is a 40-year experienced pilot. He currently that helicopter trains snipers to shoot SWAT teams to shoot snipers to shoot from helicopters.
yeah.
So this guy could. I keep telling everybody, they're like, "Oh, what happens if you get hurt?" I was like, "Listen, if I die in a helicopter crash with that pilot, I accept." Because this man has landed Navy SEALs on top of mud huts and wicker roofs and stuff. And I mean, he's dropped helicopter, the ass end of what is that Tomahawk helicopter? I think it's called a Tomahawk or Chinook
Oh, the
helicopter.
Chinooks, yeah.
Drop the back end of it into the water so a boat could drive up onto it. I mean, you're
Holy
talking about
shit.
the most badass pilots in the American military or anywhere in the world, and
Yeah.
that's the guy flying that helicopter.
Dude, there's so many stories of I used to read a lot of books about Vietnam. When I was a teenager, I was fascinated with with all the war stories. Of course, I grew up on World War II stuff because that's what my dad watched. And then my dad was actually in the Korean War. But so I was fascinated with with Vietnam, and I started reading all these books and stories about that. Well, a lot of it, the Huey in Vietnam, helicopter in Vietnam was, widely used. I mean, it was
Oh
probably
yeah,
the most, obviously it was the first big conflict we had where the helicopter was used that much, right?
yeah,
And I read so many stories about these pilots that would do some crazy, crazy things with the helicopter because
oh
they were
yeah,
just so experienced with it, you know?
yeah. I fancy myself big time. I feel like there's a lot of history that's being destroyed right now, and so I do my part, to try and preserve some of those things. So I actually have entire man cave out in my garage that is military themed. You know, I have all kinds of stuff. I have World War I trench bugles. I have World
Oh
War
shit.
II Japanese officer sword, standard issue. It's got numbers on it, just like a gun. And I even, unfortunately, I'm actually trying to find a place in Fort Bragg that I came across a some personal belongings of a soldier. It was given to me. It was her father's belongings, and there was a little can that looked like a little mint can. And when he shook it, it made a metallic sound. And I opened it up, and it was gold teeth.
Holy shit.
And I'm a juju guy, and I'm a Christian, and I'm just like, you know what? These don't belong here in my house. And there is actually, if you ever do happen across something like that, you can contact the military. And if you know the name of the person that had them, they can find where the teeth came from and go return them.
Damn.
And that's essentially what I'm trying to do because I'm a juju guy, man, and
You don't want
I don't
bad
need
juju in your house. Yeah,
yeah, I don't
I
want
hear
me. I
you.
don't want my house to be haunted. I already live in an old ass house.
You're about to start doing the. You need to get all those thermal things and walk through your house and make sure
I know,
it's
dude. I'm telling
free and
you.
clear of all those bad spirits.
Yeah, yeah. No, the Native American in me says no, no way,
I
man.
think. See, my dad's mom is Crow Indian, right? American Indian, and so I have a lot of that in me as well. When I was young, really young, even before I didn't even know this. Okay, before I didn't know that she was American Indian until I was close to an adult. But when I was like 10, 8 and 9 and 10, I was so drawn to the Native American, like the cowboys and Indians. I always
Yeah,
sided with the Indians when I would watch it. I always loved the way that the mentality of balance in nature. Uh, like I was always fascinated with that and drawn to that.
yeah,
Going out in the woods, we had a woods behind our house when I was growing up, and I would go out there and just lay in the leaves, like just. And I didn't. This is even before I had a BB gun. I would just lay there and watch all nature. I wanted to become one with nature. So you go out there, it scares all the birds away, it scares all the squirrels away, and this wasn't a busy woods. Okay, so it was pretty like the animal life out there was skittish. Okay,
yeah,
so but I would go out there and lay and just lay there long enough to where everything would just come back.
yeah,
And to me, I it was like I was really proud of myself for doing it. It was like I accomplished something. In fact, so much so, like rabbits and these squirrels would come up. There was this giant boulder sticking out of the ground right by this giant oak tree. The base of this oak tree must have been, 5 feet in diameter. Okay, and squirrels. It was so big and broad. Branches. There was like 3 or 4 squirrel nests in this thing. Okay, it's just spread out, and these squirrels would come down and sit on this rock and break open the acorns and shit like that. So I'm laying very, very close, within 10 to 15 feet. And when these rabbits would come out over by this tree and the squirrels would sit on the rock while I'm laying there and I could see them, I was like, yeah,
yeah,
man, I accomplished something. But
yeah, man.
I was always attracted to that kind of shit. And I've been on a couple of survival trips as a teenager. Um, we would go out. It was the church youth group that I was with, and the guys there were like survivalists, and so they took us spelunking, like in a cave. They took us on survival trips out in the middle of nowhere, and we would, for like 3 days. And so we would go. We took were we took 1 gallon of water. There was 8 of us. 1 gallon of water for the whole group. We
Wow.
took a 22 rifle and a handful of rounds and a fishing line, just a fishing line, just a roll of
Yeah,
fishing line, and then some weights for the fishing line, and then the hooks, just basic hooks. So, and then what else? Oh, we took leg hold traps. So they taught me how to trap and
Oh yeah.
hunt and trap. So I trapped actually. I was a trapper for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years as a teenager, just out
Yeah.
on my own. I would catch muskrats, raccoons. The biggest one I caught was a 35-pound raccoon by the
Wow.
riverbed. And when I found that sucker, it scared the shit out of me because it, they're pissed. Okay,
Oh
when they're stuck
yeah.
there, they're fucking pissed. So, but
Yeah, my
it
dad was a trapper. That's what he did
okay,
as a kid through high school and stuff like
yeah,
that. So, I know how to skin a deer, and the native part of me likes to use every part that I can. I do lots of things with skulls and Native American art, like my house. Every deer that we've ever killed is not just hung on the wall; it's actually been drawn on or painted or
mm,
something like that. And I'm actually Aleutian, Alaskan Native, and
gotcha.
that's the string of islands that come off the bottom of Alaska toward Russia. And most people don't know one of the reasons that I got really into war and wartime history is most people don't know that the Japanese occupied American soil back in the beginning of World War II. And they invaded the Aleutian Islands. And what they did was they attempted to put a forward operating base in America to basically keep attacking America after Pearl Harbor. And so all my people, all my ancestors, basically were rounded up and put into concentration camps, just like the Japanese Americans were. And so they got taken from a place with hardly any trees. These islands don't have a lot of trees, and they sustenance live, which means they have about 3 months out of the year to gather everything they need to survive the winter. And that has to do with fish. And then they stuck them, on the other side of Alaska, which is considered rainforest, with nothing and
Yeah,
in pretty unbearable conditions, and so it's both sides. My dad's side of the family, there's an unbroken line of military service, and on my mom's side there's that side of the government that would quickly just round you up and throw you to the side and leave you to suffer. I believe 1 in 10 Aleutian natives died in these camps. And I don't know if you remember the history about that, but Japanese Americans were done the same way
right.
because if you had, a little slant in your eye, you were the enemy for a
Oh
little
yeah,
while there. And so they were also treated very inhumanely.
I do
And
remember that. I didn't know about the Alaskan part there. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. If you ever want to fact check me, it's called the Battle of the Aleutians, and there's a military patch for it. And you know, it's all history. It all needs to be maintained.
yeah,
And when everybody else was going to the library to look up Dr. Seuss or some shit, I was in there looking up old Civil War maps and stuff in the
yeah,
library, and I've always been that military kind of minded guy. I just saw what it did to my family as my father was a single father.
right.
You know, living as a family in the military is not really conducive to family life.
No,
So I had already started my life when 9/11 happened and started my family. And I told myself if I ever had to go, I would. But if I could avoid it, I was going to avoid it.
sure,
So play airsoft.
exactly. Well, I'll tell you right now. I was in the Marine Corps for 4 years, and my wife and I have 5 kids, real close together. They're all in their 20s now. But if they were younger now, like coming up through high school now, I would never, at the times right now, I would not suggest that they go in the military right now.
Yeah.
No, it was,
Well, if
but
you turn on the TV and see the commander in chief and really think about that being the guy in charge, I wouldn't join either.
I don't, I don't know if I could even call him that, bro.
Well,
it
he
really,
is, and that's the scary part, bro.
it really is the scary part. Yeah, that's God, no shit, dude. Well, that part of that whole thing, and then um, like what we're with all that going on, and then and what's happened over the last maybe 5 years or so. And then what you were talking about earlier with the, the bad juju stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
Where I'm actually doing a podcast, not really for airsoft, but with another friend of mine that I've had on, that I just recently had on the podcast. His friend does these conspiracy theory podcasts,
Yeah.
and I love those. I love talking about this kind of stuff. So I'm
Yeah.
really, I love going down those rabbit holes sometimes. So I'm actually I'm going to be a guest on their podcast doing something like that. Um, and anyway, if you're into that kind of shit, I'm talking like, this is like the government stuff, over the years or
Oh yeah.
whatever.
Well,
Um,
I don't know how much you went into my Instagram there, but if you go back far enough, I was actually the first person in the country to get arrested for opening my business during the COVID lockdowns.
no shit.
Yeah. And I actually, the 3 year anniversary just happened about a week and a half ago. That was the picture. I think it's the last picture on my Instagram because I've been gone since. But yeah, I will logically dissect anything. So, I mean, at this point, the conspiracy theorists are up in the winning numbers. They were conspiracy theories and now they're not.
They're
So, I
proven,
mean,
yeah, proven facts
I'm
now.
definitely somebody that loves to logically dissect stuff. I did a podcast after my arrest because people wanted to hear from me,
Sure.
and it was always about the way I was raised was you only trust the politician farther than you can throw them. And whenever they show you what's in their left hand, you got to ask what's in your right hand because they're showing you the stuff they want you to see, and they're hiding, and it's for a reason. It's
Yeah,
because they're hiding this stuff that they don't want you to see. So
absolutely.
my whole podcast for about 2 years until I started having some memory issues caused me to stop doing it. It was called Unaltered 1776, and all those episodes are still on Rumble. We didn't want to do anything on YouTube or anything else, so we did live broadcasts on Twitch, and then it went to Rumble, and it was always about okay, this was the week in the news, and
Yeah.
then I had another special forces guy that was my co-host, and we would just okay, what's really going on in the world that they don't want you to pay attention to
Oh, I'll have to
because
go check that out, bro.
yeah,
I have a
you
Rumble channel as well.
awesome. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where it's at, man. If you want that, people we tried doing live on YouTube. I think the first 5 episodes, and every time they cut us off
So
before it stopped.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I had, most people don't know this, but one of the YouTube channels I started before, or I guess I might have started, it was right during, yeah, it was after I started this one, but so I ran a couple of them at the same time. And that one was all about the news stuff. This is back in, I think I started in 2020, and I would do the same thing. Well, so that YouTube channel got canceled, like legit got taken down. I couldn't post anymore. My Facebook account got removed. This was my personal one, but I was
Yeah.
putting links to these videos and that, and whatever posts on that. So uh my personal Facebook got taken down and removed. So I had to start a new one. Uh and I think I just started that last year. But yeah, so anyway, I've been on that. Listen, when Twitter recently with Elon Musk, and I was like, oh, finally we have somewhere we can post. I mean, Rumble as well. I had started a Rumble channel soon after the YouTube stuff. When my channel got canceled, so I started putting a lot of those on there. And then I also, so for this, I do the, YouTube, Rumble, and now Anchor FM, which is the Spotify. So that's where all the videos
Awesome.
go. And then of course, the audio part of the podcast go out on every podcast app out there, But
Awesome.
yeah, but I'll have to let you know. I'm going to send you a, I'll DM you when I find out when this podcast is, and see if we can, if you want to join us to talk about some of this shit. It'd be fun.
I'm always down to go down the rabbit hole. I'm
Me too, man.
probably one of the only people that can go down that hole and come back on the other side.
Like not crazy
I'm
as fuck.
yeah. Well, I'm very politically agnostic.
Gotcha.
I
Yeah.
don't float
Yeah.
on
Same.
any one of these Republican Democrat bull stuff, and
Right.
so I maintain my ability to free think, but I also logically can be like, no, that doesn't add up there, so we need to take a left turn here. And I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
like
I hear you.
I used
Well,
to not have friends just because if you tell me a story and it was different the second time, I'd be like, man, you're a liar. You didn't tell that
yeah,
story the same way the first time.
I'm same
So
way. If somebody's like that, I'm like, if you're kind of fake or two-faced or anything like that, or just trying to get clicks or views, you're saying stupid shit, like I won't associate, bro.
yeah,
Done.
and I'm not scared of a fight. I about 45 days into COVID, I realized the masks and the statistics and all this stuff wasn't adding up.
Yeah.
And you get down to the Constitution, both state and federal, and they didn't have a right to tell us to go home. They didn't have a right to tell us we weren't essential.
Right.
And I said, you know what? I have logically dissected every part of this, and I know that if they arrest me, they'll be in the wrong and they'll pay for it. And guess what? They did.
Yeah,
So, you know,
exactly. So yeah, tell everybody where they can find your all your stuff online again.
well, I guess for the tattoo stuff, it's fat underscore apex underscore tattoo underscore jacks on
Damn, bro.
Instagram. Yeah, it's
How many underscores? Okay.
literally all you usually have to type in is fat underscore tattoo and it'll show up. So you don't have to
Gotcha.
type it all in. But yeah, that's all my professional work and everything I do. You ever wanted to go check out some of the political stuff we used to talk about a year ago? It's Unaltered 1776 on Rumble. And everything else, man, you're just gonna have to come to a game,
Yep, I hear
you
you.
know?
Well, speaking of the tattoo thing, I was going to ask you this earlier and I forgot. So, you've been doing tattooing for a very long time, a lot
Yeah.
of experience. You've done a shit ton of tattoos. Uh, what do you have any that you've done that are kind of like your masterpiece or that you're really like the most proud of or most
28
epic or
years,
whatever?
28 years of doing it, man. I'm still learning, still trying to break the boundaries. I love a lot of as a Christian man, I love putting together, some of the biblical stuff. I also love doing the military stuff. So when you go onto my page, the bigger the tattoo, the more proud of it I am. If it took more than one session, and everything I do is custom. So you're not going to see something on there that you can find anywhere else online. So it's all drawn from me and from my experience. And like I said, between the military and just being a religious person, I take a lot of pride in that stuff. But I'm also an animal lover, so I do animal portraits and love doing those. So, I
Yeah.
try and stay as well rounded as I possibly can, and yeah, give people products that are original.
Yeah, well, they're not only that, but I mean, you're helping people. You've got, with your tattoos, you've got, I was scrolling through your Instagram. You have done some tattoos to cover up scars,
Oh yeah,
for people. You know,
yeah. We did a charity for years where we covered scars for women that lost their breast to breast cancer, and we did that completely free. Um, I like to be a charitable guy, but there's nothing more rewarding than using your actual skill that you learned over the years to really help somebody that's been through a tragedy in their life.
right?
And I think that to me is the most rewarding thing I've ever done, is because, when you're a woman and you have breasts and you lose them, and have to fight for your life all at the same time. And then you come out of the other end of the tunnel, and of course they've cut them off and
Yeah,
tried to reconstruct them, but they don't look the same and they don't feel beautiful. And you spend a couple of sessions and put this beautiful piece of art and do your best from your knowledge to cover the scars. and they get up and they see it, and you can tell it's just an instant relief. They went through years of trauma, and now it's over. So that to me is the most fulfilling part of anything I've ever done,
Right.
including people that have like I've done people that had skin grafts all over their arm where they got burned in a really bad fire, and just taking those skin grafts and covering them up,
Yeah.
it changes people. You wouldn't believe how much medicine comes from right up here.
Yeah, for
You know?
sure. Exactly. Well, listen, Jax, man, it's been really good to have you on. I'm so glad you reached out to me finally.
Yeah,
finally
man. I'm
able to
sorry it took
connect.
so long.
No, we're good. No big deal, man. It's like I said, I've talked about you and your car project, your technical over there for a handful of times already.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to
And
go
you know,
check them out, man.
absolutely, man. It's been a pleasure meeting you and talking with you. Thank you for spending your time today being on here. So look forward
Not
to
a
another
problem.
one. All
We'll
right, have a
see
good
you
one.
around.